Hey guys, and welcome back to the ASX Investor channel, and welcome to another interview. Today, we're going to be deep diving and exploring a fascinating space right on the frontier of this Industrial 4.0 revolution. I'm sure many of you would have heard about the phrases such as virtual reality, augmented reality, the Internet of Things technology. Today, we'll be talking about Vection Technologies, who are playing right at the intersection of all of them. We've got a fascinating 360 offering, which gives that opportunity to really help this industrialization pick up pace moving forward. We're joined by the COO, Gianmarco Orgnoni, today on the channel. Looking forward to unpacking the story and what ASX VR1 is hoping to do moving forward. Gianmarco, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. So Vection is it's an exciting company. We operate in the XR space. So XR essentially integrates 3D virtual reality and augmented reality technologies. But like where we stand apart is we focus on the application of these technologies in the enterprise space. So we work across a variety of industries with a variety of very exciting customers, tier one customers, very big brands, especially European brands. And we focus on integration of XR technologies with, let's say, different layers of technologies and industries. And we try and assist companies, we endeavor to assist companies in digital transformation efforts. So this means we partner with companies, we integrate our technology into their processes, into their workflows, and we really endeavor to streamline and make these companies more efficient through the use of our technology. So that's essentially what Vection does. So essentially through an XR core, we then integrate into Internet of Things, computer design, hardware, traditional ICT, artificial intelligence, and cloud. And we work across, as I was saying, a variety of industries. So healthcare, fashion, machinery, in the public sector and education, automotive and naval, in the defense industry, media, and also in the EAC and real estate industry and the sports and betting industry. So it's there's a very broad application for this kind of technology.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And you are building that comprehensive 360 offering to really help throughout the life cycle of companies. Before we dive into Vection Technology and the recent announcements, I'd love just to spend a bit of time reflecting on XR. As you mentioned, it's a bit of a catch-call for all of the different factors playing within it. Can you talk about some of those trends that you've seen and how it's starting to pick up pace, particularly at the B2B industrial level?
So I think a major push for the adoptions of these technologies actually was through the COVID pandemic. So companies were really looking on how to implement these technologies to really break through the whole in-presence thing and how they could collaborate globally in a shared environment, in a shared virtual space. And I don't know, this was, I think, an article on the BBC or CNN just this week, and it was why the metaverse is really taking place, you know? And you've got Facebook who's working in the metaverse, you've got Samsung working in the metaverse. So all these big companies are really looking at the metaverse for a social interaction kind of experience. And we're applying the same thing, but in the enterprise space, where companies really have the funds, they're looking at investing. The European Union is investing significant amounts in digital transformation. So we can think about healthcare, for instance. So when you've got doctors maybe operating from different parts of the globe, they need to plan a surgery ahead. You need the input of different doctors, and they can all work in a shared environment and really look at maybe the CT scan of that actual patient. That is like an example, but also it can be implemented also in the surgery room. So where doctors can actually see overlaid parts of the CT scan on the actual patient's body while they're performing a surgery. And this also was assisted from a trend in hardware adoption. So the cost of the actual virtual augmented reality hardware has really come down significantly. But let's take a step back. So the difference in virtual augmented reality, and probably for those of the listeners that really don't know this kind of technology. So virtual reality, you really usually put the big headset on, and that is really immerses you in a virtual environment. So you don't see anything that's happening around you. You're just immersed in the virtual space, and you can interact with other people across the globe. Augmented reality overlays digital information in the real space in front of you. So a simple example is when you use your phone and you're seeing, I don't know, a digital, maybe like Pokemon Go. That's a very easy example. That's augmented reality. But obviously that's for a social gaming experience we applied in the enterprise space. It's getting a lot of traction in the real estate space, where we see architects and real estate developers now using virtual reality to showcase a building before it's built. So a customer or a buyer can really experience how the house is going to look before it's even built. That's an example. In the machinery space, for instance, you can see a product before it's built. Same thing in the automotive industries. We've got some significant clients such as Volkswagen in our mix as well. They use our technology. In the machinery space, you can also use it for to aid operators in the maintenance of products and pieces of machinery. So there's a very broad and significant use case for these technologies.
Yeah, it's definitely fascinating seeing it play out. We all know that video games were that first adopters, but particularly as the technology is refined and as the cost curves come down, we're seeing it play out in industry. I'd love to hear, you touched on a few of those key use cases previously, but are you able to distill down some of those real primary benefits that industry are seeing, whether it's the collaboration, the opportunity for training, sales, and visualizing their products? What are those that the customers are coming to you saying, we really, really like this and we want to be able to implement it moving forward?
That's a very broad question. It really depends by industry. So let's talk about, I'll try and touch on a few industries just to give you an idea. In the real estate industries, for them is to cut costs on the display homes. So they can essentially completely cut the cost of display homes, of having the land or having the capital tied into a specific building, and they can show everything in a lot of different iterations of the same building to the potential buyers. That's one example. For architects, it can be to visualize a building before it's built. Is very important because they can identify design issues before the building is built. So for instance, you can think about big engineering projects, for instance, where engineers are working, and you can identify if a specific door is big enough to bring in specific components into the room or stuff like this, you know. In the automotive industry is very similar concept, also naval. We had a client in the naval space who are actually using one of our technologies called Mindesk, which is integration of computer design with virtual reality. He was able to identify a very bad design issue, let's say, before the boat went into the production. And if he didn't have our technology, he would have made a very bad mistake in the whole process. So that was a significant cost saving in that situation. In the healthcare space, for them, it is all about to become more efficient in terms on how they can ensure the safety of the patient. So it's all to do about safety, really putting or bringing these technologies into protocols that enable healthcare providers to provide the best possible healthcare and safety for their patients. In the fashion industry is really to save costs for them. They can visualize a product before it's even built. In the defense industry, again, for them is really to identify issues when they are designing a specific, let's say a specific vessel or stuff like this. So I would say that the most significant let's say significant benefits from a client standpoint is cost saving on one hand, safety on the other hand. And then thirdly is when you're bringing clients into a shared or virtual reality environment, you can really bring the customer on a journey and they can really experience the product before it's even built or before it's in their hands, even globally without having to be present. So that gives you a third layer, which is the possibility to sell more to a wider audience. So I will pinpoint to those specific elements.
And of course, all of that culminates in through to the revenue. Would love just to have a bit of discussion about how you're making your money. We saw that last year in FY21, inclusive of some recent acquisitions, up to $10 million reported. Love to just hear about how that's going and how you roll out with the customers.
Awesome. So I will probably start from the beginning. So our journey really began in calendar year 2017, so FY 2018, I would say. Back then, we were a very small company. Our key presence was only European. We were essentially 20 people, $500,000 in revenue. So from there, in just 3 years, we've grown significantly. So we're doing 10 million in revenue in FY21. We've got 100 people globally, 9 offices, so Asia Pacific, Europe, and the US. We've got 7 million in the bank, so we're really cashed up. And in terms of where we're going from here, so our goal is to double revenue on a yearly basis. And how we do this is to really bring together all the technologies that I was mentioning at the beginning. So integrate the XR capabilities with different kind of technologies, operate on a, let's say, one-off fee with customers initially to integrate the technology, and then create the base for recurring revenue in the future, which can be maintenance or license-based. So that's really our focus. But today we're essentially in the one-off phase where customers are really starting to adopt these technologies. We're just at the beginning of the adoption curve of XR. So really great things to come. Key presence is really European today. We're just starting to grow our Australian and Asia Pacific presence, and we're now focusing on the US to really grow that presence as well. So there's a lot of opportunity to come. We're really excited about the next coming months, especially from January onwards. So yeah.
As you've said, it's been a rapid past few years of growth. Would love to just hear how some of those initial discussions are going with customers, maybe those who are looking at the technology or those who have started to implement it. What's the feedback been so far with it all?
It's great. I mean, one of key issues was the last 12 months with the COVID pandemic, to be honest. So on one hand, it created a lot of interest. So you had all these parties coming to the table, which was great. But on the other hand, these companies really were unable to operate as usual. So for them, it was really kind of a learning curve on how to work remotely, not being in the office, how to reach the customers. And it's obviously translated also in a postponement on the investments. That's why we had kind of a delay in revenues in FY21 that we're expecting to do more. But now that is coming along. So customers that we were talking to 12 months ago have started now to buy new licenses and renew and looking at new ways to integrate different kind of softwares that are already in existence within the company. And the feedback is great. I mean, we've been working with Trenitalia, the Italian train operator, for quite some time now. They're just starting to implement the pilot of the technology we developed for them. When talks to extend that, we've been working with Mutti, you know, the tomato sauce. They just finished the pilot. When talks with to extend that, we're working in healthcare. We finished our healthcare pilot. We're now presenting to a wide audience of operators on a European level, and we're looking to scale that in the US and Australia as well. Yeah, there's really a lot to talk about, to be honest. But one of the key, let's say, things that we've noticed in the last 12 months was that consulting firms, so let's think about kind of big four kind of consulting firms, are really starting to look at these technologies as well, which means the market is ripe now. They're looking at partnering with virtual reality and extended reality companies. And we think there's going to be a big opportunity in this space with consulting firms that provide the change management, digital transformation strategy to really then bring our technologies into the fold. And I think there's going to be a big opportunity there in the coming months.
Yeah, that's a really fascinating one. We'll see how that plays out. We'd love just to stay on that competitive landscape at the moment. Of course, we're still in the very early stages of the adoption. So there's a range of different companies trying to position. We'd love just to hear some of those competitors that you might be viewing, but really most importantly, what's that special sauce that you think Vection Technology sets it apart?
Awesome. So the market, the industry right now is very fragmented. So there's a lot of smaller scale players developing really vertical solutions that either target one specific industry or one specific use case. And that really brings a very strong competition for that specific vertical. But they're providing one technology, one kind of use case, and they're not able to integrate these technologies into a bigger conversation of digital transformation. And that's where we stand apart, because we're able to integrate core XR technologies in a wide array of industries with a wide array of applications. So just for instance, we've got 4 proprietary platforms that we can integrate with our technologies. The other little competitors, they don't have that. So that really sets us apart. And the fact that we've been able to integrate with external software companies, external technology companies, and bring comprehensive, solid solutions to our customers, that is what sets us apart. When we look at bigger kind of companies, yes, we've got companies such as PTC. PTC is a big American company, you may know them. They really focus on augmented reality though, so they don't have any virtual reality whatsoever. So again, we've got that, let's say, differentiation compared to them as well. And the fact that we've been able to really grow globally rapidly, and the fact that we've been able to bring our technologies to some very significant clients. And for anybody who doesn't know who our client base is, please look at our latest investor presentation. That really sets us apart and gives us credibility to the market.
Yeah, and I think building on that, some of the key focuses, of course, in the early stages is building out those stakeholders, and you've got those tier 1 clients, as you mentioned, but something else that sets apart ASX VR1 is those tier 1 partnerships. So you're able to speak about those and also what they help to facilitate moving forward.
Yeah, so we've got a number of partnerships. For instance, in the hardware space, we've through our latest acquisition, GMC, we were able to create the first integrated, let's say, hardware software solution for virtual reality through Dell. It's called VR1, the actual product. And we're now working with through the Dell channel to really bring globally our technology to a wider range of companies and clients. And where we set ourselves apart there is the fact that a company such as Dell, they don't produce the software, they just produce the hardware. So there's really a win-win situation there in which we provide the software, they provide the hardware, and we can go together to customers. Other examples are more in the industrial kind of space. So we've partnered with Olivetti, which is part of Telecom Italia Group, one of the biggest telcos in Europe. And Olivetti is the digital farm of the team group. With them, we've been focusing on a lot of different kind of scenarios and industries, but lately we've been working a lot in healthcare. We actually participated in an event with them just a couple of weeks ago or last week. And with them, we're now looking at bringing digital transformation to the healthcare industry. And again, this is a space where the European Union is really investing a lot, and there's going to be a lot of change in how people are going to interact with the healthcare system, how new technologies are going to come into the fold. So that's really important for us to have that kind of partnerships that can give us significant credibility. In the same time, we also partner with Luis. Luis is the creator of the Italian model for risk management in healthcare. And through them, we're looking now at creating a guideline for the introduction of XR technologies within the healthcare system. So really providing us with a very significant advantage into the market as well. And there's a lot of other, obviously, partnerships such as Epic Games. We've been working with them in the integration of Unreal with one of our products, etc., etc. But I would like to focus more on what's to come now. So we've got these partnerships. We've been working on these partnerships for quite some time. They're now coming to fruition, and we're very happy and very excited about what's to come there. But again, I think the consulting space is where Vection is going to have a significant uplift in terms of its market presence on an international level in the coming months.
Appreciate you sharing that. And as you mentioned, over the past few years, it's been a transformative period for ASX VR1. But of course, this is only just the beginning. For those shareholders who maybe have been joining on the journey for a long period of time, or those prospective shareholders who might be looking at VR1 now, did you have any final reflections for them? And what should they be watching for moving forward?
I think one of the key elements is to look at the wider market, so the wider, let's say, landscape of technologies and how this whole convergence between technologies is happening globally. That is very important because it just explains how XR is going to become one of the pillars of digital transformation globally. And when we're right at the forefront of this transformation, of this exciting new world that's happening around us. On the other hand, I really think there's going to be some very significant announcement from the company standpoint on showcasing strategically how the company is going to progress in the next 12 months and what's to come there. But also there's a lot of, let's say, commercial activities happening at this moment, some very exciting projects that we're working on for the introduction of our technology. So we obviously will endeavor to announce everything to market as we always do, and just keep an eye out. That's all I can say.
That is Vection Technologies. It's ASX VR1. They're a company providing the opportunity to look into the VR and AR space on the ASX. It was an absolute pleasure to catch up, Gianmarco, and we'll continue to watch the journey for Vection moving forward. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
If you guys did enjoy the video, don't forget to hit the like button. Feel free to share it out as well. If you're new, we make daily videos, so make sure you've subscribed and turn your bell notifications on. Thank you so much for joining us.